Welcome to the Effective Actions for a Greener Industry module. Creating and leading a greener, more sustainable tourism industry has been an important topic over the years by some industry giants, such as the World Tourism Organization. Some of the perks of creating a long term, sustainable strategy for the tourism industry have various benefits, such as making optimal use of environmental resources, respecting the socio-cultural authenticity of local communities, and ensuring long term economic operations for each location. Despite the obvious benefits of making the tourism industry more sustainable and implementing CSR principles within, various global markets are still faced with a major lack of awareness within the field. Before we get started, some of the most common factors, according to tourism experts, that are hindering the growth of a more sustainable and green tourism industry consist of lack of national governmental intervention, no clear understanding of expectations, and a lack of motivation and a restricted mentality. Given the current progress of sustainable and green tourism globally, it can be determined that two activities, such as raising awareness and partnering with industry experts, could be a beneficial way to increase the knowledge and benefits surrounding sustainable and green tourism. Within this module, two major lessons are presented in order to kickstart enhancements within local ecosystems today. Raising awareness around implementing practices for a more sustainable and greener tourism industry has been an ongoing challenge over the years. As mentioned in the previous lesson, various aspects sometimes hinder the awareness and acceptance of social and green tourism, such as lack of governmental intervention, unclear understanding of the topic, and a lack of personal motivation. For example, through internal employee trainings, tourism providers and companies typically find it beneficial to dedicate periodic training activities for its employees. By doing so, this helps the company's employees to better understand the principles around sustainable tourism and CSR principles directly from an expert within the field. Such internal training sessions could take place over an extended period of time, such as a week long activity, whereby practical activities are integrated within the training session. Also, some tourism providers and companies sometimes result to a less frequent rhythm of such training sessions by providing one yearly seminar on sustainability and CSR within the tourism sector in order to have an expert share updated new findings year on year. Another important aspect of internal training activities was also highlighted by Dr. Pavlova in 2014. She has listed standard green skills into three categories that are important to know and practice, which consist of cognitive skills, interpersonal skills, and intrapersonal skills. These could also be integrated into training sessions surrounding the topic. Each of the mentioned green skills can also allow employers and employees to integrate necessary soft skills into their businesses. Another important factor in order to raise awareness around the topic are sustainable and green business models. By implementing a sustainable and green business model, this allows the company's financial activities, sales, communications, and ways of doing business to follow certain sustainable and CSR principles. In some cases, it can be seen that some European countries have a highly limited seasonal tourism period, whereby tourism companies and providers are only active during a certain time frame of the year. For example, in some summer destinations, tourism companies and providers typically make their highest profit during the months of May through late August. However, once fall or winter seasons come about, the same tourism companies and providers typically shut down or reduce their activities to the bare minimum. Such actions could potentially lead to various issues, such as lack of motivation and long term interest from employees, and even limiting the positioning of the business's image. In the case of Troodos Mountains in Cyprus, a recent study had mentioned that the geographical area is integrating sustainable developmental activities in order to create jobs and promote various types of tourism around the area. During the winter periods, Troodos Mountains is known as a ski site, while in summer or spring periods, the area is typically explored by hikers and tourists for its various monuments. Troodos Mountains is one of the few examples which smartly stabilize footfall throughout all seasons within the area in order to keep the area popular and relevant. Another interesting way to raise awareness around the topic are also sustainable and green rules to customers. So, by providing rules related to sustainability and green actions, it is also a possibility to increase awareness of the topic within the minds of the customer. Non invasive rules for the tourism companies or the provider's premises could be simply to install signs with rules aiming to promote green actions on site. As per the CBI Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 2022, multiple notices for the company's customers can be installed in relevant areas in order to have the customer think twice before making a decision. Another interesting way to raise awareness around the topic could be by incentivizing activities. Providing governmental or internal business incentives towards nationals, employees, and even tourists is typically an effective way to promote awareness around the topic of sustainable and green tourism. Each of the governmental schemes are typically available through various governmental institutions across Europe for local businesses and entrepreneurs to also provide benefits to their companies. Incentives on a company level, such as a tourism provider, also exist and are possible to implement by top management. Examples such as sustainable travel, corporate responsibility, and the sense of providing flexibility and paid leaves for various reasons, such as charity work, linking bonuses and financial rewards to ESG goals, and offering diversity and inclusion within the workplace. Another interesting example concerning promoting sustainable and green options to customers and employees, it can be seen in various large chain hospitality providers catering to a large influx of tourists on a yearly basis. The option to change bed linens and towels is not mandatory unless the customer specifically requests to have the service. Also, since water sanitation is not always a valid factor in some nations, some hotels have purposely installed signs within the hotel rooms of tourists which indicate that the hotel's tap water is safe to drink, which therefore decreases the use of plastic in the long run. In order for a tourism provider or company to understand the true needs of its customers, it must be able to imagine the consumer's entire journey and experience when traveling, especially of those with specific accessibility and mobility needs. Persons with disabilities logically face different access needs during their travels to touristic destinations, whereby in some instances they are unable to partake or travel comfortably when traveling. Hand in hand with sustainable tourism comes accessible and inclusive tourism, which is a way to further benefit all members within societies in the global tourism industry. By adapting to these persons' needs, a tourism provider or company must take into consideration the various accessibility restrictions and mobility requirements of its travelers in order to make the tourism experience a great one. Various examples from popular tourism destinations from across the world are acting as reference points of inspiration concerning such matters. For example, at the Lemon Tree Hotels based in India, this establishment has placed inclusion at the top of its list when setting forth their business model. In the case of Lemon Tree Hotels, it has adopted a strategy of hiring opportunity deprived staff members, including persons with disabilities. In addition, another touristic and adventurous experience is hosted by a UK based company called the Jubilee Sailing Trust